Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Let It Be Known. This morning with Madonna turning 60. Madonna's 65 years old. Wow. We examine the cultural impact of the superstars of the 1980s, namely Madonna, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and Prince. Also, in case you missed it, one of the great connectors in the music and entertainment industries has died. The executive and businessman Clarence Avant boasted the careers of generations of musicians, entertainers, sports stars, and politicians. And also this morning, a new Broadway production of The Wiz is coming our way, and we'll tell you about the young Virginia native who has been selected to play Dorothy. And for all you TikTok users and all those parents who say, you're wasting your time on TikTok, you're wasting your time doing, well, you are sure to be amazed at how this young lady got the role of Dorothy in The Wiz that's coming up. Exciting. Well, first, the cultural impact of the 1980s. The big 80s is what they call it. And we're going to bring on Totally Randy to talk about the big 80s, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince. I mean, we can spread it out. We saw the great graphic that Greer put together with Eddie Murphy, Mike Tyson, Oprah Winfrey, and even Donald Trump from the 1980s. Um, the cultural impact. Let's here's the thing, Randy. They experienced a level of fame and success not seen since Elvis Presley and the
Right.
Beatles. These stars influenced fashion through their music videos, giving fans a first-hand glimpse into emerging trends. In 2009, on the verge of a huge comeback concert series in London, Michael Jackson, at the age of 50, died of an overdose of the surgery drug propofol. In 2012, and also on the verge of a major comeback, Whitney Houston, at the age of 48, accidentally drowned in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills with heart disease and cocaine use as contributing factors. And of course, Prince was 57 years old when he died of an accidental fentanyl overdose in his Paisley Park estate in April of 2016. In surveillance footage hours before his 2016 death, Prince, dressed in black and looking gaunt, can be seen walking into the doctor's office with friend and bodyguard Kirk Johnson. Yesterday, of course, Madonna turned 65 years old. Last month, Madonna came close herself, as by her own admittance, to death. Sociologist David Gauntlet said this of Madonna, and this is where we kick the conversation off, Randy. He says Madonna set a template of longevity and enduring success. Madonna has provided a recipe for longevity, which many artists, female and male, may try to emulate. And when reminded of one of Madonna's quotes about longevity, where she said, quote, better to live 1 year as a tiger than 100 as a sheep. Another professional said living like that has kept Madonna on top for over 30 years. So now let's examine that, Randy. Let's start with Madonna.
I mean, I'm going to be real honest. Madonna is an icon. And I was thinking about this as, she turned 65. I personally don't agree with the surgery that she's had, but Madonna is one of those iconic artists that she was able to pivot. And I think that word pivot is so big in entertainment, because pivoting allows you to reinvent yourself, and Madonna was able to do that time and time again. I love, 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 love that we are giving her flowers while she can smell them. But Madonna is just that iconic artist that it just she could see around the corner and she knew when to pivot. She did it, and reinventing herself is why she's on top. Now, I will say this too, Stacey. We like to contribute a lot of success to social media, a lot of technology and advancements. But what we don't say is how social media has also hurt a sector of entertainment, which is allowing them to become icons because we know so much. I'm going to give
Well,
you a good
well,
example.
wait, but that might be true. But what we're doing this morning, Randy, is pretty much these icons from the 80s, right? They didn't have social media, right?
Right, and that's my
Um,
whole point. Like, would Madonna be Madonna if she was in today's system? Like, would she be Madonna? Because we
Well, the
didn't
same
know
can go
a
the
lot
other
about.
way, right? If these acts today, if they were back in the 80s, would they be big? Could
That
they
I
have
mean,
made it?
that's a good question. I mean, right? That's a good counter question. But that plays to my whole part that Madonna,
Mhm.
she was able to pivot and she was able to do what she was able to do because we did not know a lot about these stars. We were able to only see what they gave us. That's my whole
Mhm,
point, Stacey.
mhm.
We were
Absolutely.
only able to see what they gave us. We weren't able to see, intimate details about
There
their
was no
lives. We weren't.
TMZ.
Right. We weren't able to listen to them talk sometimes that some of these artists should not be talking. We weren't able to do that. We were only able to get the music, get the visuals, get
Mhm,
the videos, get the persona of celebrity. And we're not able
mhm.
to do that anymore. So of course that plays to Madonna being an icon. But again, so many people have emulated Madonna, like copied. You have Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. I like when they conjoined for one of the award shows. They conjoined, they kissed each other. It was all a big deal. Like,
But and Mike V points out too, and he says something profound in my book. He said the black press, such as Vibe, The Source, Right On, of course, Jet,
right,
Essence, they were the black social media of the day, and it was so
they
true because
were.
we saw the stuff we see. So people think there's a saying, and the saying. And in fact, it's a scriptural saying. There's nothing new under the sun.
That's true.
We saw, as Mike V points out, how many of us had Ebony and Jet and Right On and Vibe? How many of us had those
The source.
magazines on our coffee tables? How many of us read them religiously? And before we saw Twitter and X or whatever you want to call it now, and Spill and all that, they were tweeting and spilling in ink. They were doing that, and so let
Right.
me
But I'm
just.
gonna give you, but here's the caveat to that though, Stacey. Here's the
Mhm.
caveat. And I didn't catch the name of the person that made that comment,
Mike
but
V,
Mikey.
Mike B.
Oh, Mike B. So I'm gonna give the caveat to that as well as a slight disagreement. Social media allows you to interact. When we read those articles, we kept our thoughts to ourselves.
Well, no, when we read
Where were
those
you putting the
articles, we
thought?
went outside and we started talking with everybody
Yeah,
else who
but
read
in
those
your own
articles.
communities, it wasn't like
Yes.
right. So that's my whole point. My point is within your own communities, right? But that none of that actually changed the trajectory of how the artist behaved because they weren't able to get your thoughts like that. I mean, unless they are literally going to read columns where people were writing about them, the
Oh,
celebrities weren't
believe
able.
me, Randy, they read everything
I
about
mean,
them.
well, and probably right, but from
They
who
did they couldn't breathe without reading everything about. But let me just break down a little bit. We could continue to discuss. I like the element you're bringing, but let me break down Madonna's part before we go into our into Whitney. But
Yes.
Madonna, so 1980s. We know was a time of social and cultural change and movements. The moral majority dominated politics and implemented their traditionalistic ideas through society, while women were still seen as inferior to men. The LGBTQ community gained members and momentum. Madonna reflected to these aspects of 80s culture and created a revolution through her music, videos, and actions inside and outside the industry. The controversy she created among political groups and traditionalists sparked a movement in the right direction for women, homosexuals, AIDS prevention, and religious exploration. She gave minority groups a voice that had previously been silenced or too afraid to speak. Madonna's ability to use powerful lyrics and images in her songs and videos created the controversy, the scandal, and the revolution needed to change many widely accepted ways of 1980s society. She became the queen of pop and one of the most influential artists of all time.
Mhm.
Madonna changed, no doubt, changed the culture of the 1980s forever and helped begin a movement for the youth, Generation X. Her recognition and empowerment of the younger generations helped increase youth voter turnout in the Clinton election because she included them in current events and didn't see them as inferior to the older generations. Young adults began to be seen as equals to older adults because of the increased recognition of their importance in society. So Madonna's lyrics Her videos, her messages, and actions not only reflected the social struggles minorities faced at the time, but also began revolutions that would change the course of social history. You know, she did a lot of work with the anti-traditionalist movement. She did a lot of work for women, and of course, AIDS relief.
Absolutely. In the 80s. I mean, right.
Right. And so, and the point with Madonna is, here she is, 65 years old, surgery, 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 surgery. Horrible. I agree with you 1000% on that. But she's still here. And she's
Right.
still and her reach has been seen in many, many other artists.
Absolutely. I mean, she's extreme icon. Again, I drop all of my flowers to her. I won, I won like some award dressed up as Madonna. I mean,
Uh-oh.
every girl
Like a
possible. I
virgin?
mean, it is like every girl possible related to Madonna in some form or fashion. You can drop Like a Virgin. You can drop, a lot of her different songs, and again, you will know that's Madonna. People will vote to it. People will, it just, she is that iconic artist that literally just crossed genres, crossed races. She did all of it. And I like that she used her voice. She became a voice for the voiceless. I like that you pointed that out, Stacey, because she absolutely did. She became a voice for the voiceless. And again, she teeter-tottered and got close to that line and crossed it at times. And she took a risk with her art.
You said you dressed as Madonna. Power 96, of course, seized upon the moment. He said, wait, what? The Black Madonna? He just never, that guy, he doesn't miss a beat.
At all. I love it. I love it. I've missed the Let It Be Known family. I'm so great to be here.
That guy, he never
No,
misses
but
a beat.
absolutely. Like, yeah, Madonna. I was the Black Madonna. Look, Power 96. I love you for that. I'm gonna go and
Well,
put
she
that.
wore a hat like that too.
Yeah.
She did.
I mean, because it's Texas all day, every day. But yes, Madonna, 65 years old, and even scandals, when you think about it, even the scandals that have surrounded Madonna couldn't really touch her because of all of the
Well,
things that
didn't
she's
she
done.
create most of her scandals?
She does create most of her scandals. The touche, Stacey, touche.
Yeah, she really does. Let's talk about another 1980s cultural icon. There are strangely a lot of women in Whitney Houston's 1993 video for the song "I'm Every Woman." That can do anthem powered by Houston's unparalleled mid-range pipes. It's all in me. She sings of a spellbounding force that would seem to make others unnecessary. Yet, there alongside her, we find the funk powerhouse Shaka Khan, who first recorded the song in 1978. The song's co-composer, Valerie Simpson, Ashford and Simpson, Houston's mother and mentor, Cissy Houston, a dance team of young Black girls, and the trio TLC.
That's
Whitney
right.
recorded "I'm Every Woman" for the soundtrack of The Bodyguard in 1992, which she co-executive produced and which secured her, of course, mega stardom, such that the wonderment of her talent and her career impacted everyone, as her sister-in-law and estate executive Pat Houston puts it. The open secret of this video is that Whitney had a hand in that fluence. She deliberately used her status as an icon to light up a whole network of Black female forebearers, and she created she created a legacy that says pass the torch was okay. Now, 11 years after her death, Whitney has a new MAC cosmetic line and a scent, a beauty fragrance. Her original recordings are featured in the recent movie starring Naomi Aki. The coming months and years are going to bring more and more initiatives, a compilation of her unreleased gospel recordings, and a Broadway musical. These ventures, the fruits of a 2019 partnership between Whitney's estate and the music publishing company Primary Wave, invite us not only to look again at Whitney herself, but to realize that her own gaze was often turned toward other Black women. We now expect celebrities such as Beyonce, Rihanna, Ava DuVernay, uh, and others to share their resources, establish record labels and production companies, and engage in collaborations to demonstrate that they, in the words of Issa Rae at the 2017 Emmys, are rooting for everybody Black, especially other Black women. Yet it was Whitney Randy, who linked arms with gospel icons like CC and CC Winans and Kim Burrell, and mentored pop stars such as Brandy and Monica, who pioneered this form of female rah rah on a grand scale. Whitney Houston,
I
that's her
mean,
legacy.
the Whitney Houston, the voice. What can you say about Whitney? Like, I don't have anything bad to say, but I know that's bad. I don't have anything bad.
Well, it's her influence that
Absolutely.
we still see it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I when I say the voice, that's for a reason. Whitney had the most controlled, crystal clear voice I've ever heard, like anyone has ever heard. There was not a voice like Whitney's voice. Even we have some and don't get me wrong, there's some amazing singers out there. Don't get me wrong, love it. I love when Leona Lewis covered her song. I Will Always Love You. I love when she did that. I think she did it for, it was like Britain's like something or another. But again, but no one could touch that clarity that Whitney had. And
Yep.
I totally agree with you. The way that Whitney advocated for Black women, the way that she advocated for the unity of Black women in the industry, when a lot of them were the industry likes to pit. I don't know about other genres, but I know in hip hop, in R&B, they like to pit the women against each other. There's no unity, really, right? There's so many beefs, right? But Whitney was not about that. She was about the unity of Black women, supporting Black women, uplifting Black women. And I really do feel like, and of course, we don't know Whitney, right? I don't. Stacey might do because he knows all the celebrities, but but I've never met Whitney personally to sit down and speak with her. I would have loved to interview her, but we don't know her, right? But at the same time, you can look at the heavy weight that was placed on her shoulders, and she still bared that with a smile and still said, it doesn't matter what I'm going through, I'm going to support Black women and unify Black women in this industry. And she did just so. Now, I'm not really sure about the extras that are coming out, because who are benefiting from that? Like, I would have to do the research on that. Stacey, have you done the research on that? All of this new stuff that's coming out, like, is it her
Well, it's her
estate?
estate that's benefiting. It's like Michael Jackson's estate and Prince's estate. It's the estate that benefits any heirs. Obviously, she and Prince have no heirs. Prince has
Mhm.
family. She has her sister Pat, who is now the beneficiary, because look, everybody's gone. Bobby
Right.
was not. And speaking of Bobby, I'm going to say Bobby was not in that will of Whitney's. But speaking of Bobby, Mike V says, don't forget Bobby Brown. And he introduced the R&B bad boy in the 80s as well, a break from the traditional Black masculinity that folks were accustomed to. And Power 96 says, y'all better not talk bad about Whitney or Bobby. I will come through this computer.
I don't have
Well, see,
anything bad to say
I
about Bobby
didn't.
Power 96 or Whitney. I started off with that, but Bobby did say while I was vacationing in Belize that they could not play any Whitney songs. Now, he could have said that because it makes him sad, but they were playing. I was actually there in Belize, at Las Terrazas, while he was vacationing there, and they had to turn the music off really quickly. And I was like, why did y'all cut the music? I love that song. And they
Well,
said, well,
it could
Bobby is
be
here.
too.
And
It
he
could be
said,
the
no, we
exploitation. Maybe because there's a lot of people. And I guess we could talk some about this too. You talk about where all this is going, the proceeds and things like that. Who's making
Mhm.
money of it? It's the estate of the individual artist. But there are even family members of some of these artists who don't want to hear the music, don't want to
Right,
see the videos or the movies.
right.
And Bobby could be one of those who, as you pointed out, maybe it makes him sad.
Makes
Maybe
me
it just
sad.
brings back bitter
Yes,
memories. I didn't know Whitney, but I met her and Bobby a couple of times.
of course
And
you did.
yeah, and the last time I met them, 2000, I want to say it was 2002, 2003, in Las Vegas. They performed together, and met them. They were, they seemed to me, and again, I didn't know them. I just got a chance to hang out with them a little bit,
Mhm.
but they seemed like the normal, crazy, young black couple, and take that for however you want to take it. But that's what they seem to me. Nothing more, nothing less.
You know what's so funny? That there was a clip going around of Blueface. I don't know if you know Blueface and Krishan, but there was a clip going around with them, and then someone said they are, our version of Bobby and Whitney, and someone replied to that tweet and said, no, Bobby and Whitney actually loved each other. Um,
I
you know,
believe that. I believe that 100%. Anytime,
right?
listen, anytime you do on television, on their reality show, what Bobby did when she couldn't use the bath, when he's having trouble using the bathroom, that's the type of love I got to tip my hat to you, bro.
That's a different type of love. And yeah, like
That's some I'm taking care of the senior citizen type who can't take care of themselves type stuff. But
would they have pioneered? I don't know if they did, but would they have pioneered that whole reality couple thing? Because their reality show, it was a reality show. Their show was a reality show. And could they have pioneered that actually?
I think maybe, yeah, you can probably credit them. I also think you can credit, speaking of, and this kind of keeps us in the 80s too, and I got to give it Flavor Flav, Flavor of Love.
Yes. Yes.
When I first saw the commercial to Flavor of Love, I thought somebody was playing a joke. I thought it was like a spoof or something like that. But it pioneered that. Yeah, Bobby, Whitney, and Flavor of Love really kind of reshaped or started. I don't know if they started, but certainly reshaped reality television forever.
Yes, that absolutely. And I love, you could go ahead and credit Flavor Flav with the whole like bachelor kind of thing that he did with his reality show. And then with Bobby and Whitney, they did the whole follow us around like the Real Housewives kind of type of reality show. And again, pioneering that was the first time we got to really look into that type of iconic artists, celebrities, and see, their inner thoughts. There were parts in that show that a lot of people were like, we want to close this door to Bobby and Whitney. But it was I mean, look at it.
And the thing about it, it didn't appear for the most part. I'm sure there was sometimes, but it didn't appear for the most part they were playing for the cameras.
Right.
It
It
just
really
appeared,
did.
this is us.
It felt like you were at home with your cousins, it literally felt like you were in the house with them, that you were rocking out with them. It didn't really feel like, to me either, that they were playing for the camera. It didn't feel scripted at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Whitney Houston certainly have you see her, even Beyonce is Beyonce, but you still see some Whitney Houston there. You see Whitney Houston in everybody. All of these top female performers for sure. You
Yes,
see
Whitney. I
Whitney
like that
Houston.
her personality. Whitney's personality, even when it centered around how she treated Bobby Christina, and bringing her on stage, and just how she lived her life. You can literally see her threaded throughout. Multiple artists. You can see even how she, her music, how she puts her music together, her vocals. Of course they can't hit it like that, but you even brought out like people, some of the artists that she would mentor, like Monica and Brandy, and how she
TLC,
she
yeah.
would mentor them and how she would be with them. Like she was so big on unity, and I love that about Whitney. There's nothing. I mean, only thing I can say about Whitney is that she gone too soon. You
Yeah,
know,
and speaking of Gone Too Soon, that was one of Michael Jackson's songs. He sang Gone Too Soon, and he was gone too soon. Like the Beatles, Bob
absolutely.
Dylan, and Elvis Presley before him, Michael Jackson reshaped pop culture in ways that are still hard to understand in one way or another. He influenced just about every musician who came after him. His dance moves, distinct voice, fashion, artistic expressions, and individuality, over the top music videos, these things that Michael Jackson exuded influenced various artists of today and inspired them to make an impact of their own. You can see his influence in every movie-esque music video. every song and dance performer who sweats to perfect a signature dance move, and every African American artist who has gone on top of the pop charts. His work has been a legacy that carried on with the many different music celebrities who claim his work as their formative influence, including Mariah Carey, including Beyonce, Justin Timberlake, Usher, Chris Brown, Britney Spears, Neo, Snoop Dogg, Jennifer Lopez, Lady Gaga, Pharrell. Countless others have
Offset.
credited Michael Jackson. They've all credited him. These artists, in turn, have become some of the biggest celebrity performers of their day. So
Mm-hmm.
he became a one-man rescue team for. And this is the thing with Michael Jackson. This is the one thing that may separate him when you talk about the greatest. This will separate Michael. This statement here, and I didn't write this, I took this from someone else. He says, this person wrote, he became a one-man rescue team for the music business as he cut across all boundaries of musical taste and style. If you remember, think about Muhammad Ali, and this might go before your time, Randy, but Muhammad Ali basically single-handedly, boxing was in the 1960s was about as dead as you can get. Like today, it's just now it's UFC. It was dead, and Ali at the time, Cassius Clay came along and electrified and revived it and started making a lot of money for boxing. Music was just the same in the early 1980s, and MTV was the network. Of course, we had our video music box at midnight or whatever on Friday nights, Friday night videos or whatever. But MTV was the behemoth. They was the one, and MTV said, "We not playing no black people." And it wasn't like Michael Jackson called up MTV and said, "Let's sit down and have a talk."
Right.
Michael Jackson decided, I'm going to make the greatest video in the history of music.
Right.
And you do with it what you will. They could not ignore it. And music, because of Michael, music began, the industry, the money started pouring into the industry like never before. I mean, we know, and I'm an Elvis fan. We know what Elvis had done. I'm not a Beatles fan, but we know what they had done. But there was nothing compared to the king of pop. And I always said, Elizabeth Taylor said this first, and I agreed wholeheartedly with her when she said it, that calling him the king of pop was limiting him because he
That
was
part.
much more than that.
That
Um, yeah.
let's talk about it. That's one thing I was gonna say, and I did mention his name while you were mentioning names and talking about the greats, and he hasn't reached that level yet. But I talked about Offset. Mike did more than than be the king of pop. We could talk about his music all day long, but to actually influence generations on style alone.
You
Let's
got
not.
to think too. When you think about influencing generations, you're talking about generations with you and that come after you, right?
Yes.
The thing with him, what was interesting, and this is proven by the fact that he got a public letter from Fred Astaire the night that he performed Billie Jean on the Motown 25th anniversary celebration, and Fred Astaire was mesmerized because you got to understand that what Michael did was he took moves by James Brown, he took moves by Sammy
Right.
Davis Jr., he took moves by Fred Astaire, and he combined them all and made it his own, right?
Made him
And
his
Fred
own.
Astaire basically said that in the letter, and Fred Astaire basically said, "Dang, you know what? I wish." So, in other words, you influence your current, you influence your future. This guy was influencing the past, making of those who came before him wish that they were doing it the way he was doing it.
He was doing it right. He took it and he was the remix. He took it and remixed it. And then you know how they say sometimes the cover is better than, than the remix is better than the original. That definitely was Mike. And like I said, we could literally break down the ways that he influenced generations, past, present, and future, with like literally one thing. Let's start with his style. let's start with, we could talk about the music, we could talk about the singing, we talk about the videos and the visuals, we could talk about how he put together his tour and his set list. It like all of it, right? Like Beyonce, like you named, Lady Gaga, even Offset always talks about how he dresses like Mike, like that whole
Hmm.
and then we look
But
at
what the thing I know about their latest thing, because I don't listen to most of that, but the thing I know, he says, I'm Michael, I'm not no Jermaine.
that.
I caught that. So so
Right.
yeah, the Offset has and from what I'm told, and you're confirming it, that he's always shown that type of reverence for Michael Jackson.
Absolutely. There's, there again, I love Mike, right? There are songs from Mike that are gonna just stay. They're gonna cross years with me, right? Like I'm not playing Michael Jackson 24/7, but there are songs that I listened to when my son was born, and he's 5 years old now. My son discovered Michael Jackson in school. So apparently
Your
all
son
kids.
knew only the white Michael Jackson.
No, no. Here's the funny part. Here's the funny part, because he said that.
I'm only kidding. I had to throw
He
that
said,
out
no, no.
there.
I want to laugh at that because he asked me a question. He said, "Which Michael Jackson passed away, Mom? Which one?"
Which one passed
And
away? Mm.
I said, okay, they're all him." Because there's a nice brown Michael Jackson, there's a light brown Michael
Oh God.
Jackson, there's a beige Michael Jackson, and there's a white Michael
Uh,
Jackson. But apparently all kids go through a Michael Jackson phase. Apparently all of
but
them.
you
You
know
have to
what?
see.
You know what? So we know he made um some great music, like Off the Wall was incredible, of course, for its
Yes.
time. Of course, and then it was Thriller. But
Thriller.
his entire body of work, I mean, there was a lot of hits, to be sure, and it's not, and I hope no one takes this as a criticism. But it wasn't about his singing. It was never about his singing. Ever since he grew up anyway. When he was a kid, it was about his singing. When he was
Right.
singing Ben and stuff like
Right.
that.
It was about his
It
performance.
was about the entire thing. This we see it, we hear about it with the Renaissance and the Eras tours,
Right.
the spectacle.
Right.
It was always pomp and circumstance, and it was always overwhelmingly different and over the top. It was his message, as Greer says. Man in the mirror. It did make you stop and inflect.
Absolutely. He was another one. Thank you, producer Greer. I love when she drops her key points, because that's right. He was another one that used his platform for messaging. And I talk about that all the time when I'm talking entertainment, and even if I'm interviewing, or if I'm giving commentary on entertainment, the message that was centered around entertainment for Black artists was so powerful, because again, you utilize their platform to put messaging out there for issues that were plaguing Black communities. And for Mike, it was issues that were plaguing the world. And I love that he used his platform for that. His messaging, the way he packaged it together, ethic his work ethic is that attributes to him not being here with us. The measures and methods he went through to preserve his body, to reset, to refuel, unfortunately is the reason why he's no longer with us. And again, I'm not here to debate whether he was dependent on it or not. I'm not here to debate that. I'm here to say that according to the documents that were put out there, this is something that Mike frequently did to reset and refuel, because we knew his work ethic was insane. Same way with Beyonce. I mean, she's totally influenced by Mike. The work ethic of Beyonce is insane.
you know, yeah, we won't talk about his manner of death, but Power 96 said what I was thinking too. He says MJ had all of us trying to moonwalk in the elementary school talent show.
Absolutely.
And I remember, and folks got to remember, and maybe there's some folks who don't know, it wasn't like he invented the moonwalk. He perfected the
He
moonwalk. I mean,
perfected
they
it.
were doing moonwalks. My guys, the two great brothers, dancing brothers. Oh gosh, their names are slipping my head. But Sammy Davis as well. Others. You go down to South Central LA back in the 70s. The kids there was doing the moonwalk. In 1983, Michael Jackson brought it worldwide with his amazing performance during the Motown special, Motown 25. But I remember right after, because it was a special. It came on maybe about 8 o'clock at night. It was a 2 hour thing. It was in May when it was televised, and I just remember the weather was nice. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Afterwards, everybody in the
The
neighborhood was
Nicholas brothers.
outside
I knew it was. I was thinking
doing
about the Harold brother, the Nicholas brothers.
Nicholas Brothers.
Yeah.
Everybody was outside doing the moonwalk. And then I don't know if they have block parties today, but we used to have block parties. And every time there was a block party, there was always a Billie Jean dance contest all the time. Nicholas Brothers, I should remember because Harold and I became really good friends in the 1990s. Um, but
See, that's what I like about state. Y'all see, Harlem. Producer Greer say Harlem, baby. Yeah, Harlem. We could go a whole subject on that. But I love how Stacey just likes to sprinkle that celebrity on us. I love that.
well, it just so happens, and it's
But
not.
you're absolutely right.
And Gregory Hines. He mentioned Gregory
Gregory
Hines.
Hines, yes,
Oh man, if you
absolutely
guys
right.
if there are those who never saw Gregory Hines perform dance, go back and watch other stuff. Of Gregory Hines. It's a treat of treats. Gregory Hines is a treat of treats. And she mentioned his brother. But speaking of brothers and Michael, I always say this though about Michael Jackson. I have to say this. His shows were absolutely tantalizing, phenomenal, right?
Absolutely.
Um, but to me, the better show, the best show was Michael and his brothers. When the brothers got on stage with him, there
I'm
was
gonna agree.
nothing like it. If you never saw them perform as a family, as the Jacksons, um, you missed out.
I'm
And
going to agree. I again, I some of us weren't even born when when Mike was at his height, right? But like that shows his power to influence again generations, to literally go back. When I go back and I look at those Jackson 5 videos, or even the songs, or even just how they moved, how they were, they an amazing group. Like what, like you think about it,
And you
like
and listen, you don't have to go
so
back
talented.
too. Yeah, you don't have to go too far back either. 2001, he and the brothers reunited for the MJ the 30-year anniversary.
Right, but I'm talking about their height though. You
Yeah,
know what I
no,
mean?
and
Like,
and I know what you're saying, and
yeah,
I'm just saying even that performance at their rather advanced age in 2001.
absolutely.
It's still the Madison Square Garden was never the same after that, and that clip right there is from there. I mean, and you had all six of the brothers on stage, and I just remember I was there. Catherine sitting off to the right of that stage, and you
Hmm.
could see their mom. You could see like the tears in her eyes, the tears of joy in her
Hmm.
eyes as her sons, all of them, got on that stage, and you had people in the crowd like Reggie Miller. I sat next to Susan Lucci, the actress from All My Children.
Right.
Um, you just and other celebrities in the sitting up there, and we are just all just amazed, not with Michael himself, but the
But the
brothers and how
collective.
they entered the stage and they came on. They had these helmets on, and it was just
Yeah, yeah. And I'm
it's
I'm literally sitting in my living room watching it. Like it was the greatest thing ever to see. And we're up and we're dancing, and my brother is dancing, and we're watching this phenomena happen in real time. Again, just supremely iconic, never to be recreated, because the talent that is them.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Well, so we move on. Throughout his career, the one and only Prince continued to experiment with sound and music after 7 Grammys, top of the chart singles, albums, and millions of fans around the world. It's safe to say that Prince reigns as one of the most esteemed pop music pioneers of the 20th century. Not only did Prince write songs, but he played most instruments and produced his music. His hands on approach gave creative power back to artists. By taking full control over the direction of his work, Prince was able to shape the sounds that still influence countless musicians to this very day. Prince stood up for artists everywhere who were facing tension with their record labels. He wasn't scared to take a stand against anyone who was a threat to his art. Even when he left his original record company, Prince stuck by his principles and released music through his own record label and sold music online. He was revolutionized not only with his music, but with his business minded approach to his craft. He stood for the rights of artists. His image and his music, yeah, they were sly, they were sexy, they was provocative. His costumes, attitude, and gender fluid persona push society's boundaries of sexuality, style, music, and personality. While Ziggy Stardust was David Bowie's persona, Prince's was Prince. His Little Red Corvette shot Prince to the top of the charts. It was at a time when Black artists were struggling. We talked about Michael Jackson and Billie Jean,
Right.
was struggling to get prominent airplay on MTV. That Little Red Corvette broke the barrier, which helped to bring in an era of diverse sounds and talents on America's most popular music station. And of course, who will ever forget Purple Rain? It became synonymous with Prince for the rest of his life. Its soundtrack featuring Prince and the Revolution allowed the film to become the last one to win an Oscar for the best original song score and to win a pair of Grammys. Through the film, Prince became the first artist to achieve a top of the charts trifecta, a top American film, a top album, and single all at the same time. Randy, needless to say, his influence on the world of music and culture won't be phased out anytime soon. Is the one and only. And let me tell you, we talked about the Jacksons and their concerts, Michael's concert. The thing about Prince is that when you went to a Prince concert, you're gonna get over 2 hours of nonstop energy, over 2 hours of not him playing, him being the lead singer to jumping on the guitar to grabbing the bass to playing all of the instruments, the organ, the piano, whatever. This guy was perhaps the most incredible of all of them. Unfortunately, he also died too soon, gone too soon. But there was no one, no one who could match the energy of Prince. What Prince made popular, or he was popular for, was after giving a 2.5 hour concert,
Right.
he'd leave the concert, go to a club, and play for another 2, 3 hours. They didn't even make pancakes in the morning for everybody who would have them. So there you go.
So let me say, Prince was probably my really close early, my first celebrity crush. I loved Prince. Yes, I get it. You know, his style was very provocative. Guys did not know what Prince was, but what Prince was never called was any type of degrading um um name or anything of that sort for what he was, because a lot of them respected him. Even the way,
Only Morris Day and Purple Rain called him a degrading.
I
Uh,
mean, but I mean, that's he considered Prince his competition. Prince never considered him his
well,
competition
he
at
was
all.
Prince's protege. It
Right,
wasn't
exactly.
competition.
Like that he
They
was
they
like,
didn't have the only beef him and Morris had came later, much later in their careers when Morris felt like Prince was kind of leaving them behind, which it
right.
happens.
I mean, he's
Michael's
right.
brothers were always upset with him because he left them
Right. I
behind.
mean, he is
But
the
that's
star. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
yeah.
He is the star. And that's one thing that I absolutely loved about Prince. Not only his persona, where Prince was very, they call him the Shady King, but Prince was very much,
I never heard
if
that
I'm
called
not
the
with it,
Prince.
I'm not doing it. And I totally agree with with producer Greer. He hated on him because Prince got all the women. I mean,
Who
exactly.
hated
And
on
and
him?
Prince was himself,
Oh, you
you
said
know,
Morris.
right.
Well, it's so funny because we had Jerome Benton on our program a year or so ago,
Mhm.
and Jerome told a very interesting story about that. And it wasn't that they competed for women; it's just that Prince got any woman he decided to have. Morris got any woman he decided to have, unless Prince wanted the woman. So, but the thing about it is, they both had their pick.
Right. And when you think about it, but when you think about it though, and you listen to the stories that are told by, you know, uh, we think about I think about the Dave Chappelle skit where he tells the story, tell the stories about Prince and him and what's my guy name, Rick James, tell the stories
Well,
about
those
Prince.
two, now that was a real hate thing right there. Prince and Rick James absolutely were enemies. There's no spending that any other way. They both had no problem telling you that either.
Right, but when you think, again, when you think about it and you listen to those stories, like, but how could you blame Prince? You know what I mean? How could you see that? Oh no, Prince was just that. He was that iconic person. Like, to me, he kind of exuded just confidence that we've never seen in an artist.
Oh, absolutely.
Even the clips that you'll see of him, I think it was, what was the clips of all of them? They were all standing up there singing, and he's sucking on that lollipop because he doesn't want to be, but he's there, he's participating, but he's like, I'm not singing. And when they put the microphone in his face, he takes the and I think that's Quincy Jones that puts the microphone in his face. He takes his lollipop out and puts it in his face. Like, that persona is, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But back to the artistry real fast, Stacey. That's another thing that you are kind of seeing dying in the industry,
Hmm.
is people who can actually play instruments.
Yep.
I love that Her can play instruments. I love that. I think I've seen, I want to say that I see Chloe and Haley pick up a couple of instruments, but I love that Her plays her guitar. We love that Alicia Keys plays the piano. But as we can continue to see, playing instruments is almost like phasing out, and I don't know what's contributing to that. If it's the death of the arts within the school systems, or if it's technology, I don't know. But that's one thing that stood out to
Or
me about.
maybe it's a lack of appreciation.
But is what I'm asking you.
because
Is it?
because
And I'd like
because
to
it
hear
seems
from the
like
audience.
I
Power
say that
96 might be all of
well
y'all. Jump
I
in the
say
comments.
that I say that because it seems that folks today with we talked about social media, it seems like it's just the quick hit, that they want the quick hit and stuff like
Mhm.
that. You got this young girl who I don't understand, Coy Ray or whatever you call her. um and I don't understand I don't, the sound is so 5-year old ish. And I can pick my teeth with her. She's that, not and I'm not trying to I should, that sounds like body shame, so I shouldn't say that. But um, but there's no substance whatsoever in my view. There's no instruments being. There's just this made up sound.
Well, she's a rap artist though, so like I would put her in hip hop. That's where I place Doja Cat. Hip hop, right? She's a rap artist though. I wouldn't really put her in that. Who I would put in this arena would be the R&B girls. I like Victoria Monet. That she just came out with her on my mama song. She just came out with her visual for that, and it looks phenomenal. It's all the rave. Everybody's retweeting it. But one thing that I appreciate about Victoria Monet's On My Mama song is the horns, right? The horns in the song is amazing. That brass section is going off. I literally tweeted that I cannot wait to visit a college or high school football game and hear the band play that, right? Because again, I love real instruments in music. I love to hear, pick up on that sound, pick up on that scratch sometimes that
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
you'll hear that a horn when when you're playing your instrument. And that's something that Prince gave us. He gave us true, he is a musician's musician. He
Yeah,
gave us true musicianship, and
Prince
it
did
was just
something at the
phenomenal.
beginning of his career and toward the heart of his career that still remains astounding. And kind of the thing he did at the beginning of his career kind of reminded me of Stevie Wonder in this sense. So he was struggling. He was like 16 years old, and he left his parents' home. He was basically on his own at 16 years old.
Mhm.
Um, and he was approached to by Warner Brothers with a contract. And he said, "Look, I love the fact that you want to sign me. I need it. But I'm my own composer. I'm my own arranger. I do my own instruments." And Warner Brothers laughed at him, said, "Okay, uh, best of everything, kid. We'll see you." Walked away from him. He, they checked in a couple of times over the year. He's like, "I'm my own," and they said, "No, you're not doing that."
Mhm.
Finally, Finally, a couple of years later, Warner Brothers reached back and said, "Okay, we're going to give you a shot to do all of that." And he signed.
Yeah.
And then later in his career, so that set the tone right there, right? And I say that's like Stevie Wonder in the sense that just remember Barry Gordy approaching him with a contract, and his mom, Stevie Wonder's mom, Lula Holloway, was like, "We're not signing this unless this, that, and the other." And Barry Gordy was like, "Well, you guys got no negotiating. First of all, you got no leverage." Well, Barry Gordy eventually signed Stevie Wonder to the biggest contract in Motown history.
Mhm.
And later in his career, we saw that image of Prince with the word slave that he wrote on his face. Prince stood up and made artists take notice. And you hear these problems today. He said, "Look, protect your royalties, protect your masters,
Mhm.
protect your man." And now we are seeing today, what are we seeing today? We're seeing artists, the first thing they're asking about are their masters. And many of them have sold their masters, right?
Mhm.
For hundreds of millions of dollars.
Mm.
So thank you, Prince.
Yeah.
His estate should be getting thank you cards from all of
Right.
them. Even
And that
Justin
again, that
Bieber,
we go back
$80
to the
million.
messaging.
Justin Bieber sold his masters just recently for $80 million.
Mhm.
So it's like, Prince really, he tried before, newspapers missed the boat with digital, with the internet, right? Giving
Right.
it away in the
Right.
90s, right? Right. And Prince in the 90s, newspapers should have listened to Prince because he was telling artists when the internet came about, be careful, you're gonna give it away for free, and they're not
That's
gonna
true.
pay for it. They're not, and we should have been listening in this business, right?
That's true.
Because look where we are now. You've got newspapers shuttering everywhere, so many have closed, and then artists, they've lost so much money.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And again, that goes back to, so we're seeing a common thread, right? Like be that if it's messaging for the community, which obviously, Prince, like it, be that if it's messaging for the community or messaging for unity within the industry. That's a common thread from everyone that you've named of these iconic artists from the 80s, even down to Prince and how his messaging for artists and in the industry to own their masters, et cetera, et cetera. Like, yeah, it's just amazing. Again, I never I did not get a chance to see Prince in concert. I would have loved, I mean, I
I think
only
I've
could see
seen
him on
Prince
TV.
probably in concert at least a dozen times, including one of my first dates, early dates with my wife. I took her to see Prince's musicology tour, and I tell you what, and the time was actually opened up for the musicology tour. Morris
And
Day,
y'all have VIP tickets, right? And y'all shook his
absolutely.
hand afterwards.
Let me tell you something. So we sat right at the extreme front of the stage, right?
Yeah.
Where Prince would come down, exactly where we sat to change. His little changing booth was right there.
Oh, my soul would have left my body to see my
But
crush.
Prince was simply amazing. The night after his Hall of Fame induction in 2004, he performed at a club in New York called Club Black, and it was an invite only. I got an invite. Beyonce was there, Jay-Z was there, Alicia Keys was there, so many other people were there, and I always tell the story because it's just so amazing. 2:30 in the morning, he takes the stage. He left the stage. It was 6:30.
That's amazing. That's
So
amazing. I will say this though. There was a private funeral held for Prince in Houston, Texas, and I did get a chance to go to that. And that was special. Um, but and I don't know why
you're like a
or
convict in that picture right there.
hey, slow down. Not too much of my crush. He could look how he wanted to look, okay?
Listen,
He's
you're
still that
100%
man.
right. You
He's
because you
still that man.
look, even your son agrees.
Right. Right.
Don't worry, he can come on to the show. Look,
You know what? He's a Michael Jackson fan, so he's probably like, you shouldn't be talking about Prince, mom. But I'm a fan of both. I love Michael Jackson and Prince. That's another thing too. Like, I don't think that. Well, you let us know since you are the celebrity whisperer, Stacy. Did Prince and Mike have any beef?
the only the only beef that they had, and it wasn't, people will say that what they want. Chris Rock can tell you the story better than I can tell you, but um, Prince did not appreciate them trying to get him to be the other guy in Bad, right? When Michael did Bad, and Prince tells the story of how Wesley Snipes was that character, but can you imagine him singing "Your Butt Is Mine" to
Right.
me?
Right.
Prince was not having it, and so it caused a bit of a rift. I don't think that rift was as profound as people would let you to believe, because I do know that when Michael died, Prince did he postponed the show, and then he also during subsequent shows he played some of Michael's songs in his show. So it couldn't have been all of what people said it was. So, and
Right.
I do know that he was hanging out with some people in Michael's family before Michael died. And when he had a residency in Las Vegas, he always had went out with a couple of family members of Michael. I won't say who they are because I don't want to talk about them. But
Right.
anyway, so the last thing we'll say about this last thing I'll say about this, Randy, is can you imagine had these guys, Whitney and Prince and Michael, had they lived, right? And then we have Madonna,
Hmm.
and somebody says, you know what, let's throw the biggest concert in history
Oh.
and put them all on and got the agree all on the bill. Obviously, they probably each should get about $50 million each.
Right. Like.
But and the concert tickets would be like $5,000 each.
Right.
But could you imagine what that would have looked like?
It would look
Who'd
10,
open?
it would
Who'd
look like
close?
Renaissance times 50.
Who
Renaissance
would
times
close?
100.
Who would close? Because the big thing is closing.
Say that again.
The biggest thing about if you share the bill with somebody is closing.
Right, right, right.
Who
So
would
who
close?
would close out of? Oh, that's a good question, Stacey. Who would close out of Prince, Madonna, Mike, and Whitney? um. Oh,
It would
I
have to
would.
be either Prince or Michael.
I was just about to say that. And I would lean towards Mike closing.
Mm.
But I would lean towards Mike only because I would lean towards Mike closing only because the the energy, right? Maybe the energy.
The energy. Well, if
Yes.
you say energy, then you got to go with Prince.
I knew you were going to say that, but when I say energy, I'm saying energy in performance, not
See, I
energy
think the
in.
problem with, and you're probably right, and most people will may say Michael Jackson. The problem with that is like the problem Rick James had with Prince, and the problem that Jerry Lee Lewis had with Chuck Berry.
Well,
Once,
producer Greer says that he was bigger than all of them, and unfortunately,
yeah,
that is a
yeah,
fact.
no, there's no, so overall, when you're talking about pop culture, yeah, there's no question.
Right.
But
So
what
Mike
I'm
would have
saying
to
is,
close.
how if I wouldn't want, I don't care how big my ego might be, I would not want to follow Prince, because when he went, like I said, Rick James. So Rick James was extremely upset when Prince opened for him. He had Prince open for, and Prince rocked the house. And not only that, Rick James words was, "This N word gets up there
I love
with
Rick James.
panties on and high heels, and everybody's falling all over him. How am I supposed to follow that?"
You
And of
gotta
course,
love Rick James.
and of course, and the Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry thing, they fought about who opened, who closed, and of course, Chuck Berry got the close, and so what Jerry Lee Lewis did was, he rocked the house, and then he lit the piano on fire, and the show was
Mhm.
over. There was no need for Chuck to come on stage. So, so this is what I'm saying. Prince would just tear that stage apart. And I just don't think that the audience would have the energy for another act after Prince. So that's how I look at
And you know, I would Prince would definitely give a vibe and a feel. Again, that would be the concert of the century, of all
Oh gosh,
centuries. If we
it would
had
be
all
no
of
need to have any
Madonna.
more concerts.
Right. I mean, like I would stand outside the building. I saw that they were selling tickets, by the way, to Renaissance tour, the listening tickets, because your view was
Oh,
blocked.
sir,
And so they said you could sit behind here and listen to the concert. And
sir.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people bought those tickets.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty sure.
definitely would have purchased those tickets if
Really?
the four of those iconic artists were going on tour together.
I'd
That's
have to
just
be in there.
that's the concert of concerts there. But Prince would have given a vibe, but I'm sorry, Mike, the performances from Mike, the visually, I would have the energy after Prince. After, I wouldn't have the voice, but I would have the energy to see Mike get up there and do.
So Roger James said Prince would close and the song would be Purple Rain. Mike V said they would have to do an album together and perform an exclusive for the closer. Exactly.
I mean, that would make
That would
everybody
make the
happy.
most sense.
That would make everybody happy. That would probably make the most sense if everyone, like, they do a song together. But you're saying to end, I want to ask this question. You're saying to end that concert with Purple Rain, or do you end that concert with the Smooth
Well,
Criminal, with the Thriller, with the, like, think about that for a second. Like, when those songs drop, right? When those
mhm,
songs drop, equal amount of people will be up dancing, they will be up singing, they will be up vibing.
mhm.
So it's just that, unfortunately, like I said, I mean, I think the biggest point that was made was they would have to come together and do something together and perform that. True enough. But if you're saying based off of those four names who's going to close, unfortunately it has to be Mike. There's
Mm.
no way. You can't close that concert. Mike can't do Thriller before Purple Rain. That it does, sonically, it doesn't even go. You
Well, no,
can't do
sonically
Thriller
it
before.
does go. Purple
No,
Rain would
you
make a
can't
whole
do
lot of
Thriller
sense to
before
close the
Purple Rain.
show.
Like, that sonically it doesn't go. It's not. That's
I
not.
I would I don't know, because so Michael Jackson, after when he before his Bad album, he would close the show with oh gosh, what would he close the show? What was the song he would close? Oh, I'll Be There, right? He would close the show with I'll Be There. And then after the Bad album came out with Man in the Mirror, he would close the shows with Man in the Mirror. Um,
Right.
so my thinking, and from what I understand, and I could be wrong, the concerts in which he unfortunately died before he did, he was going to close the show with Man in the Mirror. Um, I, I have to, then I become to think I would rather Purple Rain than Man in the Mirror at the end. But I don't. That's me. I don't know. I mean,
I
again,
mean,
it's
you,
subjective, I
you
guess.
know,
Oh shoot!
that's why I love Greer. Like
Oh my gosh!
that, because that's my face, Greer. Thank you so much for
Which
that.
one? Oh gosh!
both, both.
Oh god!
Oh God.
Oh,
Oh God.
I
No,
tell you.
like I said, Man in the Mirror, probably not. But again, we're talking a fictional concert, so he probably wouldn't close with Man in the Mirror. But I cannot come after. I can't have Thriller and Smooth Criminal come before Kiss or Little Red Corvette, or I can't have it sonically. Prince would have to come before Mike. And then that's just me. That's just how I feel about it. Again, Prince is a musician's musician. His vibe is there. He's going to play those instruments. He's going to give us energy. Mike is a performer. He's an entertainer. Almost like what Jay-Z, because I was going to bring him up. Almost like what Jay-Z said about Beyonce, right? He said I never said she was the greatest singer of our time. I said she's the greatest performer of our time. Okay? And so, yeah. Producer Greer says it would possibly ruin. Wait, people might be worn out. Is that ruin Mike's show? I'm dead.
Look, they did the
greatest performer. So when you think entertainment, right? When you think entertainment, you have to think it encompasses all of that. And yes,
so here, let me ask you this:
taking anything away from Prince,
because Roger brings up a good point. Well, let me ask you this. You said you never saw Prince in concert. Did you see Michael Jackson in concert?
I never saw Mike in concert. Again, I only saw Mike and Prince on TV.
Right. So here's the important distinction about that, though.
Okay.
It's how they perform these songs in concert, right? And Roger brings up a great point. If you've ever seen a Prince concert, the instrumental portion of Purple Rain that Prince goes into when he performs Purple Rain, it just what it does is, he says, sends the crowd away in peace, but it also breaks them into pieces. I mean, the performance. What you can do, Randy, is go back. It's on YouTube. Prince didn't want his stuff out there.
I've watched all of those. I've watched all of those. When I say I've never seen them in concert, I've never been in person in the concert. But
so you've seen the concert online?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely,
So okay, you got it.
And I agree. I agree with that comment. I agree with that comment that. Yeah, it absolutely breaks us into pieces. I mean, that's when you mentioned in your commentary about Purple Rain and how Purple Rain took him to new heights. I mean, it even gave him a nickname. He is the Purple One because of Purple Rain. Like, when you think about that, absolutely, I agree with that. However, I'm going to stick to what I'm saying about entertainment. When it comes to entertaining, Mike, he would have to close because the way that he performs is different.
Listen, there are going to be many who say that, many who say
I mean, that whole
and so you can't be wrong.
It's almost like, wait, Stacey, listen. You have soft tacos or hard shell tacos, right? You have apples or oranges. You have Prince and you have Michael. It is just a debate that will always.
So the last thing I'll say on that is this: as great, they both extremely great. Prince. 100% live in his concerts. Unfortunately, Michael Jackson was never 100% live in his concerts.
The mic is on with Prince, baby, and my mic is on.
There's lip syncing done at Michael Jackson's concerts, unfortunately, and that's because. And listen, and again, that might sound like shade, but it's really not. That's because people would come to see him perform, not necessarily sing. There are certain songs he sang because he got to give you some of that, but it was about his performance. It was about all of the pyrotechnics and stuff like that, and and his dancing and stuff. But his shows were never 100% live, and Prince all the way live.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. I mean, I said what I said. I said that,
well, I'm not trying to get you to change your
No, I'm not changing. I'm not going to change. I'm never going to change because, again, when I mentioned that Jay-Z said that Beyonce is the greatest entertainer of our day, he made that distinction. He never said singer. He never said she was the greatest singer. He said entertainer. And you can literally see that by the clips you're looking at the Renaissance Fest. I mean, unless you're going to the tour. But yeah. I said the same thing. Prince mic was on. Yes, Prince could always sing. I mean, I'm going to say, and this is when I get into the funny parts of of entertainment. Maybe Mike couldn't sing anymore because he kept playing with his nose, and the surgery. I don't know, but that does change how your voice sounds and how you talk.
So
You
listen,
know,
we are way. Unfortunately, this has been a great discussion. We are way over time. But here, in case you missed it, I gotta mention this before we run. As Power 96 says, Bobby will close the show out. It's my prerogative. um, One of the great connectors in the music and entertainment industries died earlier this week. The executive and businessman Clarence Avant boasted the careers of generations of musicians, entertainers, sports stars, and politicians. A family statement said that he had died gently at his home in Los Angeles on Sunday at the age of 92. A cause of his death was not shared, but he was a giant power broker in several fields, helping to nurture the careers of major Black artists and shaping the field for Black-owned companies. Among his many accomplishments, he signed singer-songwriter Bill Withers. He was the promoter for Michael Jackson's first solo tour. He was the chairman of Motown Records. He nurtured producers, including Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, and Diddy, and also worked with sports heroes like Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron, Jim Brown, and Muhammad Ali. He also became a major behind-the-scenes force in politics. He advised President George H.W. Bush, but was also a fundraiser for Presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. Clarence Avant was born on February 25th, 1931, in Greensboro, North Carolina. As a young man, he started out by managing a range of musicians, including blues singer Little Willie John, film composer Layla Schifrin, and jazz vocalist Sarah Vaughan, and jazz organist Jimmy Smith. Clarence Avant, I should say, the Black Godfather is what they called him. He died at the age of 92. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2021, and many might remember in 2021, December 2021, his wife Jacqueline, who he was married to in 1967, was shot to death during a violent home invasion robbery. Earlier in 2022, the murderer was sentenced to 190 years in prison. So he's a giant that we see a lot of the celebrities and others tweeting and posting about. There's no more tweeting, right? It's Xing, I guess, about. But he is certainly someone who left a profound legacy in the music
absolutely.
business. So we end on that note, folks, because we have been missing that all week, and we've been remiss to not talk about Clarence Avant.
Really
So
big. Thank you for bringing that out. Really huge, and his contributions to the music industry never forgotten.
Yep.
Just a true giant.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, folks. We invite you to stay on YouTube, even as we work out whatever issues with Facebook. But this here, our Let It Be Known YouTube channel, was where we want you to subscribe to and watch. It's free, and you get even better quality, I think, anyway. So sign up, and join us here tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.